Hello, everybody. I have some major updates for you on the Lima versus me progeny. This has been such a busy week. First of all, Monday I went to court with Bam. Yesterday, which was Wednesday, I went to court with Bam for his case over there in Westchester. And then right sandwiched in the middle of that was my personal case having to do with Lima Yevrimovich. And it's been such a convoluted and overtly, intentionally complicated process because of this abusive, malicious litigation. It's really hard to even keep up with where we were. So what I want to do is do a very brief, well, I'm going to try to be brief, recap of what exactly was going on and what there was left to even be discussed. Okay, so this whole saga kind of started all the way back in February 2022. In February 2022, I started making videos about Bam Margera being in a conservatorship. Somebody had told me that he was in a conservatorship and asked me to look into it. I looked into it and he was, and conservatorship and guardianship are the same thing. They're called different things in different states, but it's a reassignment of someone's rights to someone else based on some reason that the government thinks is a good enough reason to take your rights away and give them to somebody else. So Bam, yes, was in one. And I looked up in the court records and his guardian's name was a woman by the name of Lima Yevrimovich. Well, I looked up this Lima Yevrimovich woman and it was a little bit concerning because somebody who was 25 years old had already died while under the court-ordered treatment that was being administered in part using Lima's company, Aura. So somebody had already died in Lima's care. Lima was Bam Margera's guardian, and no one had heard from Bam Margera in months. And if you listen to Steve-O and Brandon Novak, they were saying that Bam was not able to use his phone. He was in a treatment center or something, and he had a conservatorship or a guardianship or whatever. Well, I was actually very concerned about Bam because no one had heard from him. And this woman, who knows who she is? That led me to start looking into this guardian, Lima Yevrimovich, a little bit more. And one of the things that I did was I requested the autopsy report of the woman who died in Lima's care. She was a woman by the name of Amanda Rabb. Well, that autopsy report, it said that Amanda Rabb had died from cardiac arrhythmia and some complicating factors, but Lima had appeared on a video on Mark Leta's channel, Soft White Underbelly.
We have the autopsy results for Amanda.
Yes, we do.
Where she had said that Amanda died from a seizure disorder. She said, I'm going to read word for word of what we got.
And so I'm just going to read it word for word of what we got.
And said, Amanda's cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder.
The cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder.
And come to find out, no, it was not, because I was looking in my hands right there at that exact moment at the autopsy report. So here's this woman who's Bam Margera's guardian. Someone's already died in her care, a 25-year-old woman. We're not talking about an 89-year-old, okay? And by all appearances, this woman was being dishonest about how Amanda Rabb, the 25-year-old woman, had died while under this guardian's care. All the while, no one's heard from Bam. No one knows where he is. We're hearing he's maybe in a conservatorship guardianship, but he doesn't have his phone and he's doing better. And it's been months. That was concerning to me. So that was the beginning of 2022. That's how I got involved here. Well, by July of that year, Lima had this highfalutin celebrity defamation lawyer send me a big, scary cease and desist demand letter and demanding that I don't know, I guess retract the true statements that I had made, or I don't exactly even really know. It was harassment and bullying as far as I'm concerned to infringe upon my free speech rights. But anyway, okay, so we're in July of that year and Lima gets this fancy lawyer to send me this scary cease and desist letter, basically trying to scare me. And I wasn't scared and it didn't work. So the next month, August 9th, 2022, that is whenever Lima finally does actually sue me in New Jersey federal court. So that's this case right here. New Jersey federal court, filed August 9th, 2022. So we go back and forth on that case for a year in federal court in New Jersey. And pretty much exactly a year after Lima sued me, the case was dismissed. I won, she lost. Dismissed. But the judge kind of noticed that Lima didn't really even attempt to make a certain argument that she was required to make. And I don't want to get in the weeds. It's really not that important right now. If you're like a legally minded person and you're wondering, it was the actual malice element. Lima basically made really no attempts to even argue that element, and it was necessary. She had to prove that there was actual malice on my part when I made certain statements. Not only did she not prove it, but the judge was kind of like, you didn't really try to argue it. So what the judge did was he said, you know what, case dismissed, but I'm going to give Lima a little bit of a second chance. I'm going to give her the opportunity to maybe fix her deficient, faulty filing, the judge says, and I'll reconsider it, but the case is, it's dismissed as of right now. Now, all the while that had happened, like during the year that we were litigating this case, Bam Margera had actually escaped from the rehabs, and he reached out to me very publicly to do a series of interviews. Whenever Bam did these interviews with me, he did confirm a lot of the stuff that I was just kind of speculating about. And not only that, he went way further. He said that he started having seizures because of Lima. He told me all kinds of stuff about maybe some type of tea that she was feeding him, giving him every time they met that made him feel a certain way. I mean, there was all kinds of allegations being made. But during all of that, they were also trying to go after Bam, which is why it's so crazy to me that this is all coming to a head in the same week. I mean, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like all this stuff, we were all ambushed pretty much at the same time, and it's all just falling away pretty much at the same time. So if you remember, I started covering this story February 2022. It took all the way till August 2023 before that federal case was dismissed. So that was hanging over my head for well over a year, pretty much a year and a half. This federal defamation suit full of lies. The fucking doxed me, put my home address on the front page on purpose. And this is what these people do. They try to gaslight you. They try to make you look bad. They try to make you look stupid and feel stupid because they'll point the finger at you and say you're doing something that it's actually them doing it. It's actually them. And during that time, I'm getting further isolated from my supporters, the investigation team, and honestly, even some of my friends and family, they start to isolate from me. People don't want to be on my posts. They don't want me to mention their names. They're scared it's going to interfere with their employment, and they're scared of the fallout from engaging in this clown circus. And I cannot blame them. Because anybody that comes out and tries to support me or do something nice for me, they get viciously attacked. And some people stalked, followed. I've seen a lot of this happening. So, I mean, I can't really blame people, but all the while, this is it's obvious to me that this is a psychological warfare. This is them trying to just break me down. And you're going to see what I mean in pretty much right now. So it was right around the time that case was dismissed, the first one she filed, which lasted a year of my life. And don't even get me started on the fact that had already been about $200,000, if not more, spent just on that case, just on my legal bills already. I had to start legal funds. I had to do all this stuff. And I know that they did that on purpose because they figured I wasn't going to be able to afford it, which I couldn't. Thank God y'all came through. Thank God that now I'm going to have some of my fees are going to be awarded and all of that. But this was all just a big psychological warfare manipulation tactic. And thank God that I had the right judges who saw that. So Lima's case gets dismissed in August 2023. But again, like I said, she had the opportunity to amend it. She could refile it if she wanted. And this is pretty much when all hell breaks loose. Just 4 days after the New Jersey case was dismissed, without prejudice or whatever, August 14th, 2023, one of Lima's associates, Brian Scott Cochar, established a business in the state of Georgia called That Surprise Witness, LLC. And he put his name as the owner. So in my opinion, that's like a little bit of an identity theft because I am that surprise witness, obviously. And he knows that. It's not like, oh, oops, I got it, wrong. He knew it because he was in the Free Britney movement. He was the one that was following me all around and my fiance all around and a bunch of other Free Britney supporters all around at the rally. He's about 6'9" or something, 375 pounds, walking around filming us. And he was large, sweaty, gross, inflamed, and it was terrifying. We were afraid of him. Actually, I went and hid in my hotel room pretty much the whole day that day, specifically because this freak was following us around like a stalker, in my opinion. So that stalker freak teams up with Lima 4 days after Lima's federal case is dismissed in New Jersey, and he files for a business August 14th, 2023, called That Surprise Witness, LLC. Now, remember this guy because that little weasel is going to come up another time or two. So about 2 weeks after he files and misappropriates my business name and my identity in Georgia, about 2 weeks after that, he goes up to the courthouse and attempts to file to get a restraining order against me after he followed me around the Free Britney rally for God knows how long until I went and had to hide from him. After he had used my catchphrase, facts ain't defamation, on the top of his website. And after he had filed and started a business using my name in the state of Georgia, he tries to get a restraining order against me. This huge man acting like he's scared of me. Please. 2 days after that, August 31st, 2023, Lima does the same thing. The woman who is following me around the country, filing lawsuits in all these jurisdictions, attempts to get a restraining order against me. Now, and very importantly, that August 29th restraining order request that Brian Cochar had filed, first of all, got denied. The temporary one got denied. It just got denied. The judge was like, what are you talking about? This is stupid. He gave no evidence, no proof that I had ever done anything that would warrant one. So it got dismissed. But also importantly, Brian waited a very long time to actually serve me with notice that this restraining order was filed. 2 days after Brian Scott Kuchar's failed restraining order attempt against me, Lima is in yet another third jurisdiction filing for the same thing. So Lima, federal lawsuit's been dismissed right in the time frame that she is supposed to be filling out her amendments and all of that for the defamation suit in New Jersey that she failed to prove her claims on. She's supposed to be filling that all out. She's supposed to be doing these amendments. She goes to California, across the country, completely different state, and files for a restraining order against me based on lies. And this is like a 300-page filing too. And just like Brian, Lima waits an unreasonably long time to serve me with these filings. So when Lima files for this restraining order, in California, across the country, the first time she sued me was in New Jersey, and that lawsuit is still ongoing. So she goes across the country after Brian Scott Kuchar stopped halfway through and went in Georgia on August 29th, filed for a restraining order, failed. 2 days later, here's Lima in California filing for a restraining order, 300 pages long, huge, full of lies, full of lies. This restraining order is full of lies. But she waits an unnecessarily, unreasonably long time before serving it on me. So Lima's restraining order, actually, the temporary one, was accepted. It was granted by the judge, and partially because Lima filled this restraining order full of lies. She said that I was doing stuff I've never done and would never do. She actually said that I was doing stuff which was exactly the opposite of things that I did do. And I have several videos going through the ins and outs of that. I'm not going to get into all that right now today, but the restraining order was full of lies. She was making it seem like I was some type of deranged and unhinged individual, and actually that's just her and her mama. So I really don't know why she was trying to project that onto me, but that is what these people do. So it was actually an active temporary restraining order I never even knew about. I didn't know she had filed for it. I didn't know it had been granted. And she waited all the way until September 9th. Remember, she filed for this thing and it was granted on August 31st. You would think if she was so scared of me, she would have had somebody bring that shit to my door that day. She was so scared. And this restraining order restricted my speech. This restraining order that she filed, the judge had said that I was not allowed to even speak about her online. We're not talking about just stay away from her until we can get to court. No, which also I have no problem doing. I don't want to be around her. She lies and she's deranged. I don't want to be around deranged liars for obvious reasons. So I have no problem staying away from that crazy. But the judge restricted my constitutional rights in this restraining order. And Lima, by waiting unnecessarily for like pretty much 2 weeks to tell me about it, she stole from me my ability to hire counsel. Because remember, this is a totally different state. I was going to have to go and find another lawyer, somebody else, different from who I had already been engaged with for the New Jersey, because, lawyers are licensed in each state or whatever. So she stole away my opportunity to have the process and the notice and everything that anybody would in good faith be entitled to. And I'm sitting on my couch. It's September 9th, 9-10 days after this restraining order. I don't know anything about it. I also don't know at that time that Brian Scott Cochar had even tried to get a restraining order. I'm not sure if at that time I knew about the business and identity misappropriation, but I did want to just kind of like tell y'all all this like as it went, because this is gang stalking tactics and this is how these people try to harm you and hurt you. Thankfully, I'm God's favorite, and everybody that tried to come after me has now learned that. I tried to tell them, look, listen, I tried to tell y'all 2 years ago, it will not work for you. You will lose. I will win. You will look worse. But nobody wanted to listen to me. So here we are. So again, September 9th, I don't know about this restraining order attempt from Brian Cochar, and I don't know about this temporary restraining order that's already been granted from Lima, or the 300 pages worth of filings that she's made, even though she's known who my lawyers were for the last at least year and a month. I'm sitting on my couch minding my business. It's like a Saturday night, like 7 o'clock or something, and I hear the loudest banging on my door. And remember, this is all during the same time when Lima is supposed to be refiling that amendment for the New Jersey case and all that. I'm not answering that. So I'm not expecting company at 6, 7 o'clock on a Saturday night, and I'm not answering the door. The person keeps banging. Finally, Prim goes to the door, my fiance. And the first question out this stranger on my doorstep's mouth is, does Brittany live here? Excuse me, what the fuck? Who are you? My fiance said, who are you? I'm here to serve a lawsuit. Prim said, okay, from who? And the woman's holding a huge box, like a 3 or 4 inch thick box. And I guess she's claiming it's full of papers, but I don't know, girl, that could have anthrax in it. I don't know what that is. So we were expecting Lima to file an amendment on her New Jersey action. Because remember, the judge had given her permission to do that. Well, Prim assumed that this was that amendment. And he said, look, listen, if this is from Lima Yevremovich, please leave my doorstep. She has our lawyer's email. Let her go and email them. Like, that's the point of having a lawyer. That's the point, is that the lawyer takes care of stuff so you're not having your door banged on at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. And again, this is another psychological warfare tactic. These people choose to show up at your door at 7 o'clock at night on a Saturday. They choose that on purpose. They couldn't have came 5:30 on a, Thursday. It couldn't have been a regular weeknight, even if it was like 5:30, even if it was like middle of the day on Saturday. No. They choose the time where you are comfortable and relaxed and safe feeling in your own home, because they don't want you to feel safe. They don't want you to feel peace. They want you to feel like at any moment you're getting ambushed. And that is exactly what they did to me. And I'm never, ever going to be quiet about it. No, the I am not. Oh, baby, I will be telling everybody what you try to do to me. Yes, I will. Anyway, so this bitch is banging on my door. Prim's like, nah, bro. Like, no, we're not taking a random mystery box from a random mystery stranger. She wouldn't even confirm that it was, in fact, Lima. She wouldn't confirm who hired her. She wouldn't confirm what was in that box. And I'm sorry, there's psychos out here. Like, go by the proper channels. This is very strange and unorthodox that you would just be at my house at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. Get off my fucking porch. So Prim did not take it, but I did reach out to my lawyer and I'm like, look, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be doing nothing wrong, but I also don't want to take random boxes from strangers on my porch when they won't actually say who hired them and what the lawsuit is and stuff like that. And she wouldn't show him the papers. She was just like trying to hand him this box full of mystery items. Big box, big box. So the next day, this strange mystery woman is back on my damn doorstep trying to give that same box. Well, it's not, I think, until that Monday that I finally do take the box, because I don't know, like, we finally were able to get in touch with a lawyer or whatever. But this is for the restraining order. And now at this point, because Lima has waited so long since she filed it, I only have like a week and a half or something to find a lawyer, hire the lawyer, get him up to, or her up to speed on the case, get the appropriate defense documents filed. And remember, this would be in response to a 300 plus page filing, which was full of lies. This is all going on at the same time that I'm about to have to start preparing to reply back to her New Jersey lawsuit. They're trying to psychologically warfare me by having strangers banging on my door on Saturday and Sunday in the middle of the damn night. And at that point, Lima had started working with, and I have evidence of this, and I'll show you all the evidence of this, had started working with content creators to try and spread a certain narrative, okay, about me. I have the evidence. Yes, I do.
Yeah, the headphones are on so I can hear a script through the headphones because people are speaking. Or I'm a huge supporter of everyone who's anti-BJ. Everyone, you know what that means. Or anyone who doesn't know who that is. Like, who's BJ? Who's that? If you're like, who's BJ? It's good you don't know. Yeah, those clowns, they're gonna ruin me. I could just go on and on and on and on. And they're talking to me through the, just just want to say that. Just go ahead and type what it is they're saying, because I want to know what I'm hearing. Where's my friend Files? I'm not gonna be able to be spoken to right now. Hello. Hey, how are you?
You were so sweet for that last message.
Oh.
So much. That means so much to me. You have no idea.
So, psychological warfare in full swing. All because what? All because what? Remember, all because what? Because I busted her. I told y'all that what she said on the was not what the autopsy actually said. All because I'm trying to tell y'all the woman wasn't truthful about the cause of death. Instead of coming out and explaining herself, she sued me. Okay. Lawsuit gets dismissed. Then she wants to try to get a restraining order. Brian Cochar is across the country in a different state trying to get my business in his name, trying to get a restraining order against me based again on lies. All this happened at once. Now, importantly, in Lima's restraining order request, she included a bunch of exhibits. I mean, that's what the 300 pages was. And in these exhibits, she included some declarations / affidavits that, people filled out. People signed their names to certain statements or whatever. She had included declarations from her mom, Linda Omar, Haifa Omar, I don't know, whatever name she wants to use today, Mora, Linda Lima, I don't know what her name is, Linda. And then Lima also included a declaration from her sister, only one of them, I don't know where the other one is. And then also included a declaration from none other than Brian Scott Cochar. So attached to Lima's restraining order request, Brian Scott Cochar from Georgia puts in a declaration as well in order to bolster Lima getting a restraining order. And the judge probably based his decision on these affidavit declarations. So Brian had said all kinds of lies in his declaration. And he was like, and I have a pending restraining order myself in Georgia, but it was denied. It was denied, but I still had to go to court for it, and that was coming up. So it was obvious these two were accomplices. They're working together. Brian is filling declarations out so Lima can get a restraining order. And then when the court date for the Georgia restraining order rolled around, guess who was there sitting there as a witness the whole time with her ugly face on the camera? Lima. So they're acting as witnesses for each other in order to defame and harm, harass, abuse, and bully me. Why? Because I busted them in their little game they were trying to play. So I don't know. I mean, Brian Scott Cochar, I think that's a Lou Taylor plant, but that's just tinfoil hat speculation theory. I think he's always been a Lou Taylor plant. I think the settlement he received was actually payment to act and behave a certain way as a certain operative within our movement. But that is just speculation. I wasn't there, girl. I don't know. But there's a reason he gets all upset about that $20,000. I'll say that. Anyway, okay. So Lima is acting as a witness for Brian Cochar to try to get a restraining order. Brian Scott Cochar is acting as a witness to try and help Lima get her restraining order. And Lima goes and amends her New Jersey case. Okay. So all this happened at once. I'm fighting something in Georgia. I'm fighting something in California, and I'm fighting something in New Jersey. When Lima refiles that New Jersey case, she includes in it that she had been given a temporary restraining order against me, making me look like some kind of deranged and violent criminal. She referenced Brian Scott Cochar's attempted restraining order and his declarations. So Lima is trying to bolster an already failed lawsuit at this point with other lies, other failures of arguments. Instead of just shutting the up and apologizing for lying to people, she's abusing me. That's what was going on. So within a few days after the amendment on the thing is filed, then the lady is back in my house, same lady back in my house again, banging on my door yet again. And this time she's finally serving me with the Brian Scott Cochar filing. And that's interesting to me, because it indicates to me that this is the same team. If these were different people, why on earth would the exact same lady from the exact same process server be showing up at my house? Brian Scott Cochar's declaration was filed by Benjamin Kanani. So literally Lima's lawyers was filing stuff for other people. I don't know if did they pay, did they not sure who paid for that. But yeah, so I have this list here just to recap. Within 3 weeks, all of the following stuff happened. I won the federal New Jersey defamation lawsuit and Lima lost. Lima filed for a restraining order based on lies in California, which was temporarily granted based on these lies and based in part on Brian Scott Cochar's full of lies declaration. Now, Brian Scott Cochar, then all this happened within 2-3 weeks, started a business using my trade name and my identity, that surprise witness. He also attempted to get a restraining order against me in yet a third state, Georgia. A stranger, complete stranger, showed up to my house banging on the door at obscene hours of the day and night out of the blue, and I was approached, and that crazy approached my neighbors and was trying to gather intel from my neighbors. Does Brittany live there? That's my real full first name, Brittany. Approaching my neighbors, accosting them in the street while they're just trying to merely have their evening walk in the street or whatever. She's accosting my neighbors, making it a difficult and uncomfortable living situation because I can't even feel safe in my own damn home without strangers knocking on the door, parked out in front of my house. She was parked out in front of my house for hours.
Excuse me. Hi, what are you doing just sitting here? Why are you just sitting here?
I'm looking for Brittany and now I'm doing my paperwork.
Okay, yeah, if you could move, that'd be great. You're kind of like just lingering here.
Yeah, I'm allowed to do my paperwork. I have to go by GPS.
Okay,
At the address.
right.
This psychotic was parked outside of my house for hours. And it's psychological warfare to scare me, to make me feel afraid. But guess the what, bitch? I don't feel afraid. And in fact, I have some video evidence. I'm going to put it right here of the stalker that was at my house. Here it is. And let the record reflect. If you show up to my house uninvited, unannounced, and refuse to leave, you're going to be on videos too. Anyway, all within these 2-3 weeks, I had to find a lawyer to represent me in California and get them up to speed enough to defend me. I had to find a lawyer to represent me in Georgia for the Cochar action and get them up to speed enough to defend me. I had to come up with a strategy, and my lawyers did, of how to approach these full of lies filings. I mean, hundreds of pages long in Lima's case. And within these 3 or so weeks, Lima filed the appeal in the New Jersey action, which was dozens of pages long in and of itself and referenced her successfully having been granted a restraining order against me in California. She did leave out the inconvenient for her fact that the restraining order was issued based on lies and without so much as notifying me that she was filing it, and didn't give me any opportunity to defend myself before it was temporarily granted. She left that part out of her New Jersey filing. So it was clear again to me that she was basically using this phony restraining order request from California and Brian Scott Cochar's denied failure of an attempted restraining order request in Georgia to bolster her hopeless failure of a case in New Jersey. I said I was going to do my little visuals here. So remember, New Jersey federal court, then the Cochar. Okay, see what I mean? First one here, federal court. Second one, Brian Cochar. Third one, California temporary restraining order request. Okay, see what I mean? Okay. Now, meanwhile, all the while, my legal bills are obviously racking TF up. Okay, I'm now having to deal with 3 different sets of lawyers for one. The first one's very, very complicated First Amendment case in federal court. It's very serious. And because Lima and her lawyer, Benjamin Kanani, waited an unreasonably long time to serve me with the temporary restraining order request, it put me in a position where by the time I figured out that it even existed, I only had a few days to respond to it. And again, it was like 300 something pages long, and I did not have a lawyer to represent me in that state. So the first thing, pretty much to my memory, I mean, I'd have to look at the docket, but one of the first things my lawyer did when I finally found one to represent me was he had to ask for a continuance, an extension of time. Now, remember, the judge had granted the request to stop me from talking about Lima online. I could not even speak. I couldn't even say her name. And not only her, I couldn't say her sister's names. I couldn't say her husband's name. But because I didn't have enough time to prepare in the allotted time, my lawyer had to ask for an extension of time. And the soonest that the judge could hear the case was going to be like 3 months later in November. So effectively, she stopped me from being able to speak about something that I have the right to speak about, which is absolutely an improper and, in my opinion, unlawful use of the justice system. And if she can't figure this one out, she should go back to Canada. I also don't even think the judge really had the authority to do that. Like, who is this judge in California to tell me what I can say over here in New Jersey? Like, at the very least, it should be the jurisdiction I actually live in. But I digress on that point. I really don't think the judge had any authority to tell me what I could talk about, especially without hearing my side of things first. It was asinine, in my opinion. Asinine. But there was nothing I could do about it until we could go to court and I could have my day in court. So I just had to suck it up, I guess. So anyway, I get to work on dealing with all this, and there's a lot of other stuff starting to happen too. Like, there's these obvious plants that are popping up talking about they're going to be that surprise army, and they're clearly deranged and demon possessed, in my opinion, and they're doing some deranged and unhinged stuff. Like, one girl said that she was going to go to the building where Dahlia Takali, one of Lima's sisters, had made this police report, and she was like, I'm going to go do an apartment tour. Now, mind you, the Takalis and all them, the Yevremovich Mora Takalis, have said in court filings that they didn't live there anymore at that time. So really, it was no harm, no foul. But I had to tell that person, no, ma'am, do not go and do a tour of the building. I knew it because I'm psychic. And because I get downloads from the mothership and because I'm God's favorite. I already knew it. I knew it in the exact moment that girl said that she was on her way or she was going to tour this building. I knew that it was a setup. Yes, I did. And I told her, is it my responsibility to tell a grown person what to do? Nope. No. Is it my responsibility to tell someone that they can't go? Is it even my right to tell someone? Do I even have the authority to tell someone they can't go do an apartment tour? No, I don't have that authority. But still, I told this person publicly and privately, do not do that. Why? Because they're going to blame it on me. So I went ahead and dug up that private message that I did send to this person. And these DMs did happen on September 10th, 2023. So literally right smack dab in the middle of whenever that freak was coming to try and bang on my door at all hours of the day and night. One of the days she was here was September 10th. So in the exact same day as that's going on, this girl who I'm sending the DM to right here, she's like, oh, I'm going to go on the apartment tour. Hopefully this works. Then as you can see, I message her and say, don't do that. And she's like, oh, girl, I already went. And as you can see, I say, I would hate for anyone to be in a dangerous situation or get hurt. And if something bad did happen, I would be the first person they blamed. They've done it repeatedly at this point, so I'm just cautious. I love that you've jumped into the investigation, though. And of course, I would never tell you what to do. I just want to make sure everyone is safe and everything. You know, love you, mean it. Even though nothing actually dangerous happened, even though Lima Yevremovich Mora Takali put my address, doxed me in legal filings, sanctionable in my opinion, even though all that, they had gaslit me and psychologically tortured me to the extent that I now felt brainwashed and mind controlled into having to take responsibility for these other grown people's actions. And you know what I think is stupid? That's stupid. If you idiots can't see the trees for the forest, that's your fault. And if you do something deranged and criminal, you should face the criminal consequences. But apparently, anything anybody does on planet Earth having to do with any of these people is my fault. And that's what it started to turn to in these filings. There is evidence of Lima, public evidence, millions of views of her a year and a half before I ever started even knowing this existed, saying she was getting death threats. Saying people were following her, saying people were looking for her sister's address. All that happened before I ever even knew she existed. But now every single thing that's ever happened is my fault somehow. I don't know how that works. So during all of that, all that's happening too. These accounts are popping up and talking shit about me, people I never even heard of. And I don't care. They have the right to do that. Go ahead and do it. But they were also just lying. They were making stuff up. They were making it seem like I was doing stuff I wasn't doing. And it's like, girl, I mean, there's stuff to be mad at. Why don't you pick something real? So all that's going on. I'm dealing with all this. And then finally, the time for the hearing rolls around. Finally, November, time for the hearing to roll around. See, my lawyers had filed against Lima's restraining order request, a filing called an anti-SLAPP motion. And SLAPP means strategic lawsuit against public participation, a lawsuit that is strategically filed to infringe upon my speech. So my lawyers said, look, this is a textbook case of that. And in California, they have a statute that allows people, victims of this type of abuse like me, to file to get attorney's fees and to quash the case and get the restraining order off the books or whatever. And here's a text that I actually sent somebody the day before the hearing. And as you can see in the text, I am very well aware of what's going on with this whole operation. I said, it's so obvious, their little plan, and they keep making it more obvious. They were sent to butter me up and make me get close to them. Didn't work. So they could start a bunch of drama to hold against me in court. Also didn't work. Oh, and or devastate me right before trial by turning against me or testifying for Lima, etc. None worked. So now they're trying to still go along with their assignment, but it just makes their failure more obvious. I sent this the day before the hearing. Well, my lawyers filed one, and the hearing for that finally came around after she had filed this all the way back in August. Finally, it's the end of November, and I had to fly across the country at my own expense. That is not getting reimbursed to defend myself on this restraining order in California. So the judge strikes her lawsuit, says it is actually indeed, in fact, a strategic lawsuit against my free speech, against my public participation, and dismisses the restraining order. So, sigh of relief. Also, the statute does require mandatory allotment of attorney's fees. So my lawyers then were going to have to argue over how much their attorney's fees were and stuff like that. But on that day, November rolls around, and thank God that restraining order in California is dismissed as a SLAPP suit. So that's what that looks like. Dismissed, SLAPP suit. November. Now, the Cochar suit as well also similarly was dismissed. I don't have the date on me right now, but dismissed. And then remember, this New Jersey one is being appealed, and she filed for an appeal. Okay, great. So eventually the judge did grant me $87,400 something in attorney's fees and costs. So because she had improperly attempted to take away my free speech, she did owe me a portion of my attorney's fees, which $87,000 is nowhere near what I had to pay out. And that is one of the problems here, is that when you get awarded a financial judgment, first of all, if that person ever pays it, which I believe they're now going through a sham divorce to pretend like Lima doesn't have access to Ivan's money now all of a sudden. That's my belief. It wasn't long after this $87,000 judgment that they were filing for a separation over there in the state of Illinois or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. Could be that Lima's just an incompetent fool and her husband finally realized, like, okay, this woman's a liability, got to get her out of here. But I really don't know. But that all ends up happening, right? She's ordered to pay this money in, like, I think eventually the actual order comes through in February. But November 27th is whenever it was like, yeah, girl, the case is dismissed in California because it's a SLAPP suit. Now, again, this is a major win for me. The first time I won was whenever the federal court in New Jersey dismissed her lawsuit. And they gave her a chance to refile it, and that's still pending right now. The New Jersey one is still open right now. But then there was this California one. That one she files, it gets dismissed. Not only do I just win it, no. Deemed to be a strategic litigation against my public participation, and she eventually would owe $87,000, nearly $90,000 just because she filed that. Well, that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough losses for Lima. And January 30th, 2024, this psychotic bitch filed for another restraining order in California. Another one. After the first one had been dismissed and it was a SLAPP suit, she still took it upon herself to file for another one. Yes, to file for another one. Yes, another one. And this time, she never sent me notice of it. Nobody was banging on my door this time. Just filed for a restraining order, again, full of lies, again, used Brian Coachar's declaration, Brian Scott Cochar, used Dahlia's declaration, used Linda's declaration. Now, in court, we had already argued to get half of that shit from those declarations thrown out as hearsay and other stuff, and Lima never bothered to argue the evidence on those. She just decided to take another shot at it, even though the first one, based on exactly the same allegations, had been dismissed as a SLAPP suit. She filed for another one in January. All the while, these other cases are still going on, right? The New Jersey one and the order for how much she's going to have to pay me for the slap suit. She filed for another restraining order. Again, it was a constant ambush by these people. And this time, she included more declarations. And guess who filed one of the new declarations in this case? That same psychopath who I had to take the responsibility to tell her not to go to Dahlia's house, which again, Dahlia did not live there at that time based on these people's own statements. Dahlia did not live there. She lived in a totally different state at that time. So really, it wasn't putting Dahlia in danger at all. But this lying psychopath said that I had told her to do stuff, told her to go places, and I have the receipts, which I will put up here on the screen, of me saying exactly the opposite of that. Exactly the opposite. There was another psychopath, the one that I showed y'all the video of earlier of Lima. Hi, you're so sweet for that last message. Oh, you're so sweet for that last message. That person, she also filed. She also filed a declaration. Now, neither of these two people have I ever spoken to on the phone. Never have I seen them in real life. Never have I directed them publicly or privately by name ever to do anything, much less something harassing and unlawful. I have gone out of my way to tell people, don't contact, don't send hate, don't go to people's houses, don't even leave a nice comment, I've gone so far as to say. And that really does oppose my personal beliefs because I don't think I should be telling people what to do and what not to do and say and not to say. That's kind of like my whole thing. Well, all this is filed and Lima never gives me notice and neither does her lawyer, even though they obviously clearly at this point know who my lawyers are, know how to get in contact with them, never gives me notice, just fails to do so, which is one of the main fundamental tenet of our legal system, of the civil procedure system, is that you can't just sue somebody and hope they find out about it. You got to tell them. No, didn't give me the proper notice. Nope. This is a sanctionable offense. It's sanctionable. It's so obvious. It's so obvious that you just can't get past it. But my lawyer still tried to play nice. Once we found out about this surreptitiously filed second California restraining order, my lawyers and Lima's lawyers went back and forth for a while on whether they would dismiss the second restraining order request. And my lawyer was like, you didn't even give us notice. And Lima's lawyer was like, okay, well, we'll dismiss it, but we're just going to file it again right as soon as it's dismissed anyway. And we'll give you the proper notice then. So my lawyer's like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to file for sanctions, which he does do. So that's all in January. In January, they file a second one. February rolls around and we finally get ordered that $87,000 number from the first California temporary restraining order. But even after this very serious monetary award, Lima's impish little lawyer would not back off that second TRO request. Even in the face of several major defeats, they wanted to still just keep harassing, abusing, and bullying me. So my lawyer, like I said, he had no other choice but to file for sanctions, not only against Lima's lawyer, but also against Lima because they failed to give me notice. And this was filed for no other reason but to harass and bully me. So the hearing on that, sanctions, was held just 2 days ago. And that leads us to where we are right now. The restraining order itself was voluntarily withdrawn. Benjamin Kanani and Lima pulled it back, but the damage was already done. So I have an announcement. This past Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, the California courts delivered another major blow to Lima, and this time also to her lawyer. And it was Judge Weinberger who ruled from the bench that their behavior was deserving of sanctions. And indeed, Lima's lawyer and Lima have been sanctioned by the court. So you might be wondering, what is a sanction? This is from EDA Law, EricDAndersonLaw.com. And he has this little blog post I'm going to read to y'all where he explains what is a sanction, what is this specifically. Now, my case was decided on the CCP statute 128.7, and it was a 128.7 motion that was filed. So it says, in the legal world, motions are a common procedural tool used by parties in a lawsuit to request specific actions or rulings from the court. California's Code of Civil Procedure, Section 128.7, commonly referred to as the 128.7 motion, is a type of motion that what? Aims to discourage frivolous or harassing litigation practices. And then it says this article delves into the details of what is this motion, and it explains the legal standard for review. So what is it? It's a statutory provision designed to prevent parties from filing and maintaining lawsuits or motions that are deemed frivolous, improper, or are filed for an improper purpose. Why? What's the point? It safeguards against the abuse of the legal process, aiming to deter parties from pursuing meritless claims, wasting the court's time and resources, and causing unnecessary expense to the victim, me. It says, when can it be filed? A party can file this motion if they believe that an opposing party's pleading, meaning Lima's pleading, written notice of motion, or any other similar paper is presented for an improper purpose, such as to harass, cause unnecessary delay, or needlessly increase the cost of litigation, which is absolutely what they were doing, in my opinion. And I guess in the judge's opinion too, girl, because he sanctioned their asses. Yes, he did. So there's some other reasons, but I mean, really, it's really this: frivolous, improper, or improper purpose, which is like harassing and bullying. It says, if the court determines that a 128.7 motion is well-founded, it may impose sanctions on the offending party, including monetary penalties, payment of the opposing party's attorney fees, or other forms of relief deemed appropriate. It's a tool in the state's civil litigation system to prevent frivolous and abusive litigation tactics, precisely like the ones I just outlined tediously, meticulously for the last hour. And who is this guy? This is him right here. This is his website, public. This is him, Benjamin Kanani. He is the one who's now been sanctioned. And look what I found. Not only did he get sanctioned, so did Lima. Look at this FAQ. This is the Cal Bar, the California Bar, .california.gov. Look at this. These are the mandatory reporting requirements. When do I have to report to the state bar? And again, Mr. Kanani, he is a member of the California State Bar, based on his own admission on his own website bio page. When do I have to report to the state bar? The general requirement is that the report must be made within 30 days of the time you have knowledge of the triggering event. So I really hope, with all the time that they've spent watching my videos, and it seems like maybe coordinating with social media accounts to harass and bully me and cyberbully me across the internet, he should have time to watch this video and know and be reminded of this mandatory reporting requirement. He looks like to me he's got about 28 more days to do it. Now, what are these triggering events? My client and I were both sanctioned. Do I still need to report it? Well, let's just look at the actual minute order real quick. I want to see what it looks like. Here's the minute order from the other day. And as you can see, the court grants the motion under CCP section 128.7 and orders that petitioner pay sanctions in the amount of $10,000 to my lawyers within 30 days. So it looks like Lima is the one going to have to pay the $10,000. But in the motion for sanctions, we listed Benjamin Kanani and Lima Yeremovich. So I'm going to have to see what the actual order looks like. But from what it looks like to me, based on the information I have right now, that man better get to reporting this shit straight to the bar. Yes, he better, because I think it's a public interest concern. This man should have never filed that second restraining order, period. But the fact he did it and never gave me notice, the fact he did it and included in it declarations that he knew had already been excluded, the fact they did it with a different judge than the one that had already been here in this case, improper and inappropriate. And now Lima owes me another $10,000. Now, when you add up all the money that Lima owes me, it is close to $100,000. It's $87,400 something. Plus 10,000. And that 10,000 she's supposed to pay to my lawyers within the next 28 days. Now, I speculate she's going to act like she's too broke. She's going to act like she's too broke to afford the sanctions. But it's very interesting to me because she ain't too broke to afford to keep filing all this bull, is she? All I got to say is let this serve as a warning to the next idiot who thinks, who even tries to bring a thought, to form a thought in their mind, like they're going to bully me, like they're going to harass me, like they're going to try to abuse me with the legal system that I spent a lot of time and money learning myself. I know what I'm allowed to say, stupid. I know what I'm allowed to say. And I don't step outside of it. That's why they kept losing. And that's why they're going to keep losing. I'm allowed to say what I think in the United States of America. If you do not like that, do not do business in the United States of America, because this is how it works here. Now, I want to really get into the nitty-gritty, as it were, the fine-grained details of exactly how this gang stalking operation has worked. Because guess what? While I was lying in silence, being abused, bullied, harassed, psychologically warfared upon. I was still observing everything that was going on. Yes, I was. I know exactly what happened, and I have all the proof. Just so happens this video is already over an hour long, so we're going to have to get into the gang stalking operation with the receipts, with the videos that have now been deleted, but I definitely downloaded to several different hard drives. It's going to be the ultimate lesson in what you thought and you f***ed around and you found out. The ultimate lesson in that. So yes, I have the receipts, and yes, I will be putting together a video. Maybe it'll be on BJ Investigates. I really don't know. But of that $97,000 that she has been ordered by a court to pay me, now in a slap suit and in sanctions, I anticipate she's going to pretend and act like she's too broke to afford it. But even if she wasn't, it's not even probably 25% of the money that I have had to pay out and that I am now responsible to continue paying out. I frankly have not even wanted to look at the total because it's just so nauseating and overwhelming that I just can't even think about it. But if I had to guess, it's probably more than $400,000 in legal fees. And this is after one of my lawyers, the one from the California cases, had discounted his rate by like almost half. This is the cost of our freedom. This is the price of simply telling y'all that some people did not tell the truth about how somebody died while they were in their care. This is the price. So do we live in the land of the free? Or do we live in the land of, if you have $400,000 lying around, you can say what you think? It's getting a little bit out of hand. Even with these laws that allow for attorney's fees to be granted, what about the flight I had to take across the country? What about the sleepless nights I've been staying up? What about all of the hours and hours and hours that I was unable to do my actual job that makes me money because I was having to dig through and defend myself against egregious, obscene, malicious, vicious, false, fraudulent lies? What about all of that? We don't live in the goddamn land of the free. Nothing about this land is free. We live in an open air prison circus run by clowns. You take the wins where you can get them. And I'm going to say it's been a resounding win across the board here. And I'm going to keep winning because I'm God's favorite. Now, I do have a lot more videos to make on this topic, and it's going to be about the personal toll that this has taken, the personal impact on personal relationships, the fact that Lima and her team were fishing in my personal life, in my investigation squad, to testify against me. The ops, the plants, the operatives. Yes, I have a roster, baby. I know what all y'all did. Just because I haven't said anything yet, don't mean that I'm not going to. Y'all just stand in the line and wait for your tape because it's all coming out now. Now, as far as the resolution of this case, I would assume these idiots know better than trying a third malicious, fraudulent, phony, full of lies lawsuit in California. I would assume they know better than that now. The New Jersey case, we're still waiting for the judge to decide on that second round. Is he going to finally dismiss it with prejudice? I have full faith and confidence that he will. That's all I really had for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, minute. Goodbye. Welcome into my world. You're playing my game. Thought that you could come up and they're fitting off of my knee. Talking out the side of your neck like you're insane. Cortisol levels to the roof. Inflame. Kids these days so shameless. Selling out real friends for a paycheck. Mama didn't teach them no home training. Wanna be me so bad, but they failing. Step to the plate though. I'll take a challenger. I ain't scared of no low life scavenger. I should warn you though, if you haven't heard, I ain't no Colleen ukulele ballager. Shots been fired. Wanna tell that? Say it to my face though. Now behind my back. Won't be long till you share it in a group chat. And when I call you up, you're gonna backtrack. And you should've kept my name out your mouth. As we go, how it all